Welcome to Lynn Cullen Live. Talk radio without the static. Email your questions and comments to lynncullenshow@gmail.com. And now your host, Lynn Cullen.
Hey, how you doing? Sorry, I'm blowing my nose. Bad timing, Cullen. Hello. Welcome. Oh, God. I'm suffering from I'm not sure what. So I was so sure I had COVID yesterday. I did not feel well during the show. I had taken a test right before the show. It came up negative, but it was a different kind of test than I was used to, and I thought I screwed it up. I thought, oh, you didn't do that right. You were supposed to see what you were doing. And so after the show, I masked myself up and went over to the pharmacy and got some more tests because I had run out, and tested myself again and negative. So I don't know. You know, it's funny how we just make assumptions, given our experience. I was traveling on a plane with lots of people I didn't know, and they weren't wearing masks, and now I don't feel good. And the fact is, I still don't feel great, but I guess I don't have COVID. I don't know. Are you supposed to? I'm just going to keep myself pretty much away from everybody because I think I got something. So while I couldn't sleep last night, I had this epiphany. Not much of one, but I was thinking about that poor woman, Brittany Griner, who made a mistake. She was carrying a cartridge of cannabis oil, and she went to the airport, and the airport happened to be in Russia, and you know the rest. And what I realized was that I had traveled this weekend with more cannabis than Brittany Griner had in my suitcase. I just had a small carry-on. And that I had just packed all this stuff up. There was all kinds of stuff. There was what she had. There were edibles. There were little rolled up things. All of this a gift from my sister, who you know, because she buys it legally where she lives in Illinois. And she brought it up across state lines, and she gave it to me. And normally I would have been really uptight about flying with that because my original plans were to fly out of the Green Bay airport to Chicago and then on to Pittsburgh. But that all got screwed up when I missed my connecting flight on the way there, and ended up renting a car. And so I had to drive back to O'Hare, thus avoiding the Green Bay airport. And that's when I felt assured, because the Green Bay airport is not exactly a bustling. And amazingly, there must be some rule about you have to have like 3 or 4 TSA agents on every, you have to have them there at that check-in point. And so they stand around in Green Bay with like nothing to do. There's like 6 flights all day. And so when a live person comes down the corridor at them, they're licking their chops, man. I mean, they take it seriously. I mean, because they don't have a lot of bags to look at. They don't have a lot of people to pat down. So they really, I have found through experience, man, they really put you through the ringer there. So I would have been very concerned. But O'Hare? So I actually, like people, you think, how could somebody forget they had a loaded gun in their carry-on? Well, I have to tell you, I forgot that I had all of these illegal substances, illegal in, well, they weren't illegal in Illinois, but they're illegal to carry out into Pennsylvania. What craziness all this is. Anyway, I completely forgot about it. And I, breezed through, no problem. And I don't know why, all of a sudden, bang, it occurred to me last night. I couldn't sleep. You had more on you than that poor woman. So the difference is of place. I wouldn't have done what she did. I mean, you do have to make some judgments. But on the other hand, it shows the insanity of all of this. And it also shows how probably an old white lady is not scrutinized as much. I don't know, but my heart goes out to her. Dear God. I can't imagine. Can you imagine being in that nightmare? Jeez. So anyway, that was something I was thinking about. There's so much to talk about. I don't even know where to start. I'm just my head's spinning. My head is spinning. I told you yesterday we were going to talk about spiders dreaming, and we still could, but there just seems to be so much that might be more consequential, and yet when we deal with the consequential stuff, we always end up in the same place, which is yikes. So no surprises with the election news last night. The Republican Party is a wholly owned subsidiary of Trump Inc. And you have to be crazy. You have to be a coward, is what I think. You have to have no spine. You have to engage in no critical thought. You have to have 100% obedience to their Führer. And it's really mind-blowing. The woman who beat Cheney, just clobbered her, is a woman Cheney used to work with. She used to be like a normal, very conservative Republican. She, in fact, was very anti-Trump, this woman. Hageman, right? And she made the calculation that almost every other Republican in office has made. Well, I guess if I'm going to continue down this professional road, I gotta do a 180 here. Even though I know this man is fill in the blanks, I'm going to support him. I'm going to jump when he says jump. And that Cheney is such an outlier says so much about the lack of character, the lack of courage of so many of these Republicans. Wow. And that you're willing, I mean, they had to at some point make some kind of calculation. And they sold their frigging souls. Another one who did not is Adam Kinzinger. Said that he's learned a lot, also unhappily, about human nature. I mean, he's now, much of his family will not talk to him. He's lost his family. He's lost his job. He's lost his party. But you know what he didn't lose? He didn't lose his self-respect. He didn't lose the ownership of his own soul and mind. And that he and she, Cheney, are in such a minority is so frightening to me. It answers the question I asked since I was a kid and thought I would die before getting an answer. As even as a child, knowing about the Holocaust, I always said, how could they do? How could the people let that happen? You see it. Just a wholesale sell-off of one's own agency, one's own self-respect, one's own integrity, one's own soul, because Kinzinger nailed it. And this young man, he's still such a young man, he said what he learned is there's something people are more afraid of than death. And what it is being kicked out of their tribe. Kicked out of their tribe. And that's the thing that all of these people couldn't bear. Being left essentially ostracized, like Cheney, like Kinzinger. They didn't have the courage. But I just find it. And speaking of courage, the thing I saw that the Academy of Arts and Sciences, that would be the guys who give out the Oscars, they have 50 years after the fact have issued an apology to Sacheen Littlefeather, who was the 6-year-old Native American woman who Marlon Brando dispatched to the Oscars to, if he won, which he did, to walk on stage and decline to accept the award for him. And I was thinking, there's a lack of courage. Brando. He sent a 26-year-old young minority woman, brown woman, up there in his stead. Now, I understand he wanted to make the point of how Native Americans, he wanted to protest how Native Americans were portrayed in Hollywood films. But she took the hit. John Wayne had to be restrained backstage. I guess he was what? He was going to go kill her? I don't know. Had to be restrained. It's a well-known fact. By the way, the win was for The Godfather. And so the Academy has now apologized to her. She accepted the apology graciously and said it is profoundly heartening to see how much has changed the Academy said to her that the abuse, and that's what they called it, that she faced when she went on stage was unwarranted and unjustified. Do you know some of those bejeweled folks in the audience were doing the tomahawk chop to her as she exited? They were booing and shouting all manner of vile things. And the Academy said, for too long, the courage you showed has been unacknowledged. For this, we offer our deepest apologies and our sincere admiration. Well, after she was run off the stage, she went to Brando's house, and someone fired a gun. Two gunshots were fired at the doorway of Brando's house. And there were 2 bullet holes that could be seen through the doorway. So she, by the way, is dying of metastatic breast cancer. So there was a brave young woman, and it's amazing how often it's the women who step up. Just want to say, it really is. Oh, Barbara wants to know, I don't know, how much hash oil did Griner have? Prosecutors allege she had purchased 2 cartridges. Well, I don't know. I have 1 cartridge. These cartridges are all pretty much the same. Susan gave me 1 cartridge, and then stuff in other forms. Actual marijuana rolled up. There's also some oil that's not in a cartridge, but in a dropper. It's a pretty big-sized dropper. That was the thing I was most concerned about. And then I thought, well, it looks like it could be nose drops or something. That, I guess, is a sleep aid. I haven't tried it. And then there were some edibles I haven't tried. I haven't tried any of this stuff. But I suspect Griner had Barbara's wondering about grams versus ounces. I don't have a clue. I didn't look. But as far as I know, all those cartridges look this. I've been in pot stores in 3 different states, and they all sell essentially the same kind of thing, packaged up differently or whatever. So, something that drove me crazy was yesterday was a big day for the American people, I guess, for Joe Biden, because, he signed that bill that does a lot for what people are going to pay for drugs. It's going to help the environment. It's going to help reduce the debt. It's going to do a lot of stuff. It's a big bill. But I want to talk about the coverage, and specifically the New York Times coverage, because it's what I see, and as you know, it's the paper of record. And the New York Times has a story today, the headline of which is, even on Biden's big day, he's still in Trump's long shadow. And this is the kind of thing that makes my head explode. This is the New York Times saying that for some reason, even though this massive bill that will have an impact on people's lives was passed against huge odds, an incredible legislative victory, given that the Congress doesn't function very well anymore, and the Democrats don't have like a huge control of it. They have a razor-thin margin. And that Biden has managed to get these bills through is astonishing, actually. And if for some reason that is not being trumpeted in the newspaper, then whose fault is it? Biden's? The New York Times is the one, along with everybody else, who can't quit Trump, who are constantly distracted by everything that he does. And they dare to do a piece on how even on Biden's big day, he can't escape Trump's shadow. Is there any self-awareness at that newspaper? Is there any? And then in their article about the bill, within a few paragraphs, they start talking about all the things that aren't in it, trying to make it appear that somehow this wasn't much of a victory. It is just maddening. Maddening. There is little dispute that Mr. Biden has been unable to persuade lawmakers to go along with one of his biggest economic goals, investing in workers, students, people. And that's on him or on the friggin' Republicans who stand shoulder to shoulder against this radical idea of investing in workers, families, students, and people. That's on Biden? Where's the big article about Republicans stand against the people? Why is it not put that way? It is always put as if somehow the Democrats have screwed up. Biden is not a strong leader. The fact is, what he did is remarkable. Everybody thought that thing was dead. Everybody. It was a legislative victory as big as anything Lyndon Johnson, the wizard, did. And Johnson had a Congress that was stuffed full of Democrats. And all this, so much of this article about his huge victory that will help the American people has this kind of verbiage in it. And this is what media, mainstream, not Fox News, does. And then they wonder why Americans don't even know what's in these bills. Americans don't have a clue of what he did. They even point out that only 41% say they're even familiar with whatever the hell this is. Now, why would that be? Whose job is it to tell them? And instead, you get Biden has been unable to deliver on many of the programs he proposed, caring for children or aging parents, universal pre-K, like tax credit to fight child poverty. Yeah. Why? Because the Republicans are against all of those things. They're against them. What are Republicans for? Somebody tell me. Oh, yeah, I know. Making sure extraordinarily rich people and corporations don't pay taxes. People, little kids, elderly, diabetics. Fuck them! You know, there are facts, and then there are how you present the facts, which can color what the narrative becomes. And what the New York Times and the Washington Post and all of them do is, well, that's very good, but, and they never say that the problem, which is so glaringly obvious, is that the Republican Party, which has huge power, has 50 friggin' senators and all these ridiculous arcane rules to act as if they're a majority. Never is the finger pointed at them. Never. So all of these things, when the fact that Biden, while Trump is vomiting and farting his way through our landscape and getting the kind of coverage that he requires, Biden is doing his job. And by all measures, doing it pretty damn well. Just the hearing aid thing that happened yesterday. That is going to help so many people. Got rid of these stupid, arcane kind of rules that corporations want because it raises the prices of hearing aids. Puts up obstacles to somebody getting a hearing aid. Why should there be an obstacle? I can't hear. I shouldn't be able to go into the drugstore and pick one up. Well, now you'll be able to. As soon as October. And there ain't no way that the prices that are being charged now will stand. They will come down by thousands of dollars. And that will benefit millions of Americans. Incredible. New York Times. Even on Biden's big day, he's still lost in Trump's shadow. Just want to say, sons of bitches. Now, because I'm a member of the media, received, this thing that Mastriano's campaign, or the people who are putting this together, this rally he's holding Friday here with DeSantis. And I shared with you, I can't remember what day it was. I was stunned by what it was, because it was the rules were being sent to the reporters for covering this. And I've never in my 50 years in journalism seen anything like it. It's the rules you would see in, I don't know, like a Castro's Cuba, Orban's Hungary, Putin's Russia. It was astonishing. And Chris Potter, who now works at WESA, the NPR outlet here, says that a lot of reporters are struggling now to whether or not do you show up, do you agree to comply, because journalistically it stinks to high heaven, and by complying you are again sort of selling your journalistic soul. Now, it doesn't impact print reporters too much. What clearly they're concerned about is pictures, sounds that photographers could capture. And it allows the people who are putting this on the right to have access to everything that they shoot. It does not give them the right to take pictures of anybody or anything without their permission. And Potter points out that, reporters are trained to, at least reporters that actually understand what journalism is, are trained to hew to a very specific ethical construct. And that mostly is you gotta maintain independence. You don't ever allow the people you're covering to dictate the coverage. Never. I always bristled when I set up an interview and the person I was going to interview would send me a list of questions to be asked. Thinking, what? What do you think I am? I'm just a parrot who reads this crap off? Thank you very much. I'll ask my own questions. You do not give the person or the thing you're covering control over your coverage. Because if you do, you're just part of their promotional. You're part of their propaganda. You're working for them. Chris Potter, he went to a Duquesne University professor whose specialty is media ethics. Her name is Maggie Patterson. And Maggie Patterson took a look at that, what was sent out to media, and her response was, jaw drop. She says, this is shocking. She went on to say, it's not what you expect to see in a developed democracy. The provision that jumped out at me mostly was that your material could be taken by them to be used for their own promotional purposes. I don't think ethically they have any right to your material. A reporter's first loyalty is to the people, is to the citizens, is to their readers or their viewers or their listeners, and their commitment is to the truth. So Patterson went on to say, so if that is being compromised, and I would say it's being compromised in this case, if you adhere to their demands, I think that the proper journalistic ethical response is you do not cover it. You don't attend. Now, it'll be interesting. That's a big story tomorrow. Chris got in touch with other news outlets to see if they were going to comply. And he didn't hear back from anybody. This is not something that happens in, as Maggie Patterson said, a developed democracy. It's extraordinary. Now, I saw, I think it was Barbara sent me a piece yesterday about this as well. And I believe it was written by a guy named Will Bunch, the Philadelphia Inquirer. And it adds a whole other disquieting element to what is going to happen here Friday with this. First of all, he questions, why are they doing it here in Pittsburgh? It ain't their territory. Why aren't they where their folks are? So they come into one of the bluest parts of the state, and then they set up this, sort of these thuggish rules of, you can come in, but you damn well better do what we tell you to do, which again is just not something that happens in a democracy, which is what we used to be. And this guy poses these questions. I'll just read some of what he has written. I can't help but wonder whether Ron DeSantis and Doug Mastriano, the current and would-be future strongmen of today's anti-democratic GOP, are spoiling for an old-fashioned Friday fight night when they stage a joint rally in Pittsburgh in 2 days. He goes on to say that Mastriano, a Christian nationalist, which is correct, whose campaign has been flagging in recent days after the disclosure that it paid a website whose owner and history are both tied to anti-Semitism, and this, obviously, in the city that saw the largest massacre of Jews in American history just a few years ago. And Will Bunch says, I got some major questions here about the location, the timing, and the ground rules. Why, he says, is this rally slated for Friday at the Wyndham Grand Pittsburgh Hotel at 4:30 p.m., occurring smack in the middle of another national gathering of thousands of progressive activists called Netroots Nation, also taking place in Pittsburgh this weekend? Is the tag team of Mastriano and DeSantis hoping that their appearance will trigger a brawl with the leftists in town, many of whom are, and we're talking Netroots Nation is, it's the lefties. Many of whom are people who, would be very willing to confront Mastriano and DeSantis. And this guy points out, and he might be right. Good God, that's what they're hoping for. Let's create something that we can use to show to our people how dangerous and how under attack, how dangerous the enemy is, and how under attack they are. So he points out that in the paranoid style that DeSantis and Mastriano, work with and use to whip up their followers, fights with their perceived enemies are a badge of honor. He points out that, high on their list of who they take on are obviously left-wingers, which is Netroots Nation, which is here as well, and reporters. And he points out it's clear they want to fight with them too. All you have to do is look at the ground rules for the working press that he said could have been drafted by Joseph McCarthy or maybe Joseph Stalin. Right. And he also quotes Maggie Patterson. So I don't know if what is coming our way with this is something that will end up being consequential in this race. I don't know. It's one thing that, these types know how to do is to create situations in which there will be confrontation, which they then will provocation, then confrontation, and then propaganda. And this guy bemoans the fact that reporters, and I mean Chris Potter, reporters from every television outlet in this city, every newspaper in the city, have contacted Mastriano, desperately trying to get an interview. You're running for the governor of the state. Would you talk to the media? No, he will not. And this is, again, a case in his propaganda campaign. Why would I talk to them? They lie. They're on the other side. This is that decades-long Republican talking point bullshit. And DeSantis is going along with this. You can't get in to talk to him at this event. And so he asks, I'd love to hear someone press DeSantis, who has a large Jewish constituency back home in Florida, on why he thinks it's okay to endorse Mastriano, knowing about his connection to Gab, and knowing that he's now holding a rally just a few miles from the synagogue where a Gab enthusiast murdered 11 Jews in 2018. And on Friday, he said, in 2 days, no one's going to get within a 10-foot microphone pole to ask him to explain. And if they did get that close, anything they had on tape would be confiscated because of the rules they've imposed. This guy ends his piece with this: a major political party that no longer just complains about the media, but actively restrains it, is really attacking the core of democracy. Because an actual rigged election is the one where the public is denied factual information in which to make a considered judgment. When candidates attack a free press, people should assume the worst and vote accordingly. Excuse me. God almighty. You can see why I think I have COVID. I mean, I don't care about all these negative tests. Isn't that right? I have a caller. Go ahead, please.
Hey, Lynn.
Go ahead.
Hey, Lynn, it's
Hi.
your neighbor, Mike. Hey, how are you?
Fine.
Yeah, I didn't call up to talk about your COVID, but I had COVID and the test results came negative for 2 days and then it came positive.
Okay, well,
So follow your instinct. Yeah.
Yeah, I am.
But I called to ask, this is your business, so this is a general question. Why isn't the story on the day of Mastriano's thing, why don't they just change the story to today Mastriano covered up blah, 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 and here's the reasons why we didn't attend. And unlike every other blah, 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 and now we're going to show footage of hat cam of the thing. Like, why don't they make that the story? Not that he's in town, but that he's so afraid of us, he won't let us show you anything. Why don't they change the story?
Well, they should. I suggest that, there's some conversations going on about that, but I would be shocked because it would require becoming part of you would know by doing that story that Mastriano and DeSantis and all the rest of them would then turn their fire on you. You would become
part of the story.
Yeah.
And you're not allowed to do that.
And you would only underscore what they're saying, which is these guys, see, they just want to take us down. They don't want to. It's sort of like they're putting media in a can't win situation. Because if you stick to your ethical guns, then, well, look, I don't know. I don't know. I would just, this is the kind of thing where it would be such a great day if all of these, it's the TV outlets more than any, TV and radio, because as I said, a print reporter, I mean, they can go in and scribble away and who's going to say anything to them. But if they were to somehow hang together and refuse to comply, but I don't think that's happening. I think they're taking their press credentials from them, and by doing so, agreeing to these terms. I don't know that to be the case, but the fact that Chris Potter reached out, WESA reached out to other outlets to see, and didn't get any responses back.
So they're really that dumb because the next guy can do the same.
They're that spineless. It's again, we're finding out that courage is so rare.
But can't they play this scenario out? Like, don't they see that the next contestant could say, no, you must do these 10 things. And then this will be the rules for everybody. And then if they complained, you did it for Mastriano, so guess what? You got to do it for me.
That's right.
Like, don't you see what door you're opening by walking through it? Open this door. Exactly. If you walk through it, you have no standing.
Right.
So it's awfully short-sighted.
Yeah.
And what Biden did wrong. Good, sorry.
No, go ahead. You go ahead. Go ahead.
What Biden did wrong with the only thing he did wrong with this was, why did he release it on a Tuesday? I don't know anything about your profession, right? But I know you release it Thursday night, so it's on the Friday morning paper and every talk show on Saturday and Sunday. So why did he release it on a Tuesday? Like, see what I mean? Like, I don't know anything about your business, but I know if you want news to really hit, you do it on a Thursday.
Well, the problem is that his White House is thinking about doing their job, they're not thinking about this aspect as much. As all that Trump and his folks think about is, playing the thing.
I saw an article that said that Fetterman should be hired as Democrats to explain how to
use social media.
Yeah.
Yeah. Indeed. He should. He does know it. And this is why, you need young people, young, savvy media folks, or John Fetterman. He certainly does know it. I don't know. I'm not really worried, though. I did not know Netroots Nation was here.
Well, I thought another point to that is maybe they just want to say, look at the crowds we have. You know what I'm saying? They may also want to attach some of that crowd to them because they love to make it look like they have large crowds of people interested in them. And if you have all these people downtown.
Yeah. Well, but I think what this guy is worried about is that you'll get folks from Netroots knowing DeSantis and Mastriano are a block away, and they are going to show up to in opposition to them, which is their right as Americans. And all it takes is someone on one side or the other to get a little, out of control, and you could have trouble.
And then why can't that be
this guy thinks that? Well, because then he said it's like, who started it? This guy thinks that holding this here is an intended provocation. And all it requires to be successful is for the left to step in and do what they're wanting them to do. I don't know. Listen, it's almost like you need to, I'm no expert in how you handle this kind of game. And that's what it is for so many of the people that run these political campaigns now. It's just a game, as you know. And on the Republican side, there's just no rules anymore. None.
Oh, no, there are 10 of them. They sent them to all the reporters.
Well, that's right.
Which they'll change later.
Rules, right. There's rules for us, but not for them. Yeah.
Right.
Oh, God. So.
Well, it's interesting listening to your show because I do learn perspectives of a different business that I would never know. So I'm glad you do this.
Well, thank you. Thank you.
Sure.
Appreciate
Have a good day. Bye.
You too. Bye-bye. Bye-bye. Wait, I'm just looking at some. Barbara has sent me. There is the most just vitriolic review of Jared Effin Kushner's book in the New York Times, and whoa, it is. I mean, to me though, this is like shooting fish in a barrel. I mean, come on. I can't even imagine who wrote this thing. It is funny. Dwight Garner. I mean, he just doesn't even know where to start. He says Kushner almost entirely ignores the chaos, the alienation of allies, the breaking of laws and norms, flirtations with dictators, so on ad infinitum, to speak about how he tinkered with issues he was interested in. And the line that leapt out at me, which left me sick, and I'm already think I'm sick, is this. And if you're eating, stop right now or cover your ears. He says, reading this book reminded me of watching a cat lick a dog's eye goo. Oh, God. I guess that is, that's about as, that's not the thing you'd see like on the dust jacket trying to sell the book. Reading this book reminds you of watching a cat lick a dog's eye goo. I don't think they'll be using that one. Unbelievable. It's unbelievable. I mean, it's just the most brutal takedown. But again, it'd be an easy, brutal takedown. I did read it and enjoyed it, kinda. Is what we're left with in terms of enjoyment. I can't believe what time it is, and I didn't get to Spiders Dreaming. Dang it. Tomorrow on the show. Spiders. Excuse me. Spiders Dreaming. And bees dancing. I have another thing on bees. I got woolly mammoths. And Tasmanian tigers. I got so much animal stuff that I'm just dying to share with you. But you know, the messy human reality keeps distracting me, interfering. So we'll get along. We'll whatever, get around to it. I think I got to. Oh, here's another thing. This is I just quick. But this again, the thugs, the thugs that are now the Republican Party, the brown shirts, who are trying to intimidate, provoke, intimidate, create fear, blah 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 blah. And are doing a pretty damn good job of it. As this indicates, the Houston Chronicle reported yesterday that the entire election administration office of a county in Texas, the people who run the election in an entire county in Texas, have all resigned. There's nobody running the election anymore in this county. Gillespie County. Why would such a thing happen? They feared for their lives. Here's what it says. The elections administrator in Gillespie County is stepping down over death threats, stalking that followed the 2020 election. I have to take care of myself, Nisa Herrera told But she's not the only person. The county's, the entire staff has resigned for similar reasons, leaving the county in a dire situation with a November election upcoming. This is almost a solid red county. And Trump carried it with something like 70+% of the vote. And I guess that's too much. That wasn't enough. Because you know how it works in dictatorships. This has to be 100% of the vote. Anyone who thinks we are not in true danger right now is dreaming, is entering that the same kind of clueless sort of self-defensive denial that has afflicted so many who follow Donald Trump. It's really something. Hate to be a bummer, which is why, damn it, I really want to talk about Spiders Dreaming, but I guess that'll have to wait. Maybe tomorrow. Huh? Thank you all. Talk at you tomorrow. Bye.
Lynn Cullen Live, Monday through Thursday from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. and archived at pghcitypaper.com. The opinions expressed on Lynn Cullen Live are those of the host and do not necessarily reflect the viewpoints of Pittsburgh City Paper or its advertisers.